Chapter 11:14. Tired of living? Branch Dinzeng glanced at Wei Qingyuan. Then he shook his head. However, what is the use of the formation? Without the main attacker, the formation will not be formed in time, and it will be destroyed by the black bear. Sure enough, just as Branch Dinzeng expected, the black bear didn't care what these weak two-legged creatures were doing around it. It just charged toward one person. The huge palm swept toward a young examinee with a fierce gale. The examinee was so frightened that his face turned pale, his arms trembled, and his eyes were full of despair. Many people in the monitoring room showed unbearable expressions. It is impossible for these people to escape, and this little guy is the first victim. Before the expected bloody scene happened, Branch Dinzeng suddenly exclaimed in surprise, How is this possible? Who is this little guy? A blue figure approached silently behind the black bear. When the black bear was about to slap the young examinee, a sharp sword light slashed on the black bear's most vulnerable palm. Roar! The shocking roar was mixed with incomparable anger and pain. Obviously, the black bear's almost invulnerable body was injured by the blue figure. The black bear no longer bothered attacking the young examinee, as it immediately turned around and charged at the blue figure. Caillou looked at the blue figure. The originally clenched fists were clenched tightly again. He bit his teeth until his cheeks were aching. He couldn't describe how he felt at the moment. The behavior of this young man who disgusted him was beyond his expectations. Shiyu, are you a big villain? Or a truly peerless genius? Standing next to Caillou, Zhang Chong finally saw the true face of the blue figure, and he couldn't help exclaiming, Shiyu? How could it be Shiyu of the Foundation establishment stage? What is he doing? He actually provokes the black bear by himself? Is he tired of living? Zhang Chong's exclamation expressed the minds of everyone present. Even Han Shinner of Gold Core Stage is no match for the black bear. What can this beautiful young man of the Foundation establishment stage do? But the next moment, everyone's eyes widened in shock. Zhang Chong opened his mouth even more, wishing to swallow everything he had just said. There was a strange silence in the monitoring room, and it took a long time before someone blurted out to break the silence. This can work too? That's right. This was the thought in the minds of everyone present. Is this even possible to deal with the rank 7 black bear like this? The screen displayed by the recording stone kept flickering, but everyone could still see it clearly. In the eyes of everyone, Shiyu's figure had turned into a blue afterimage, spinning around the black bear. From time to time, the black bear stretched out its huge palm and swooped toward the tiny Shiyu, but it was often escaped by Shiyu at a critical moment. The black bear was getting more and more irritable and angry. Chapter 11:15. Cut off the root cause. It launched its dark red tongue at Shiyu, but Shiyu quickly released a purple whip, swung it fiercely, and entangled the dark red tongue with barbed at once. The black bear let out a painful growl and quickly retracted its tongue, but it was already a step too late. Its tongue, which had been badly wounded, was injured even more again. It almost got rampaged due to the pain. However, when the black bear pounced on Shiyu again, Shiyu's figure once again turned into an afterimage and disappeared in front of its eyes. If the black bear impatiently wanted to attack other people, Shiyu would stop at the right time to attract the black bear's attention back. In the monitoring room, someone swallowed his saliva and said, I remember that the black bear has the weakness of slow movement, but its attack has the attribute of lightning, and the effect is very wide. Just a slight touch will cause one to be annihilated. The other pouted and said, Slow? Why don't you go around the black bear and try it out? Although the speed of the black bear that has risen to rank 7 is incomparable to other magical beasts of the same rank, it is a Foundation establishment stage martial artist can deal with. Interesting, really interesting. The old man looked at Shiyu, who kept walking around playing black bears, and Wei Qingyuan, who was instructing other candidates to form a formation, and sneered. It seems that they can probably survive for 10 minutes. Since that's the case, I have to put some effort too. After speaking, he sat down with his knees crossed, and his divine sense slowly extended toward the entrance of the secret realm. He never looking at the image again. Elder Qin and the others all breathed a sigh of relief, But everyone's eyes on Shiyu were full of complexity. Have you found out the details of this, Shiyu? Hearing Elder Qin's voice, Elder Fu, who was standing beside him, nodded quickly and passed an inscribed jade slip into his hand. Elder Qin used divine sense to read. Then he frowned immediately and said slowly, "Have a grudge with the Feng family? He is close to Nangongyu?" A dark light flashed in his eyes, and the corner of his mouth raised a cold arc. A Foundation establishment stage can have such speed and combat power. It seems that she has quite a few trump cards in her hands. Elder Fu nodded and said, "The time is short, so we can't find much information. But there are definitely a lot of secrets hidden in this Shiyu. Just the best quality pill produced by Shengda Hall and the inheritance of the Purple Golden Palace in the Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. He can't be underestimated." Elder Qin gave a low smile. His eyes turned cold and deep. "I have heard Jishi mention this person. Although I'm also very interested in many of his secrets, there are too many variables hidden in him. Keeping him alive may pose a threat to us. It is better to cut out the root cause now." Elder Fu's expression froze. He closed his eyes without speaking. At this moment, an exclamation suddenly sounded in the monitoring room. "Oh no, the black bear is going rampage. My God, is this Shiyu crazy? Isn't it safe to circle around the black bear? It's over. It's too late to wait for Branch Dean Song to gain control of the secret realm." Elder Qin and Elder Fu were startled. They looked up quickly, and they both showed unbelievable expressions for a while. In that image, the slender figure of the young man was as small as an ant compared to the huge body of the black bear. But at this moment, the ant stepped on the black bear's face and the other foot stepped on its nose, staring calmly at the black bear's scarlet and frantic eyes. Chapter 11:16. These idiots. The young man held a long sword in his hand, and the tip of the sword penetrated deeply into the black bear's left eye. Dark black blood flowed out, causing the black bear to twitch in pain. Roar! The shocking roar shook the entire image of the recording stone. The situation in the elusive forest could no longer be seen. In the elusive forest, Hushi held a long sword and swiftly retreated from the mad black bear. As soon as her feet landed, she turned around and shouted, "Wei Qingyuan!" Wei Qingyuan was walking away from the last person he just instructed and returned to his position. Hearing Hushi's voice, Wei Qingyuan's expression froze, and his slender fingers formed gestures, depicting a beautiful and strange rune in the air. Hell Seal. A clear whistling sounded, and the rune rushed straight toward the black bear. At this time, the black bear had fallen into a state of complete madness, and the darkness and pain from its left eye made its anger soar to the peak. The lightning that was originally released from its palm suddenly overflowed from its body. Wherever the lightning went, earth and rocks burst. The grass was overturned, and the entire valley trembled. Seeing that the rune was about to cover the black bear, trapping it completely in the formation. But the lightning just happened to struck one of the examinee. The examinee was so scared that he actually forgot Wei Qingyuan's instructions and fell to the ground. The rune that originally completely enveloped the black bear suddenly lacked a piece. The black bear slapped at the fallen examinee. Squash! The examinee was smashed to pieces. There wasn't even any residue left. Wei Qingyuan's face turned even paler. He spat out a mouthful of blood with a desperate look. All the candidates were stunned by the scene in front. The hope that was raised because of Hushi's excellent skills turned into panic and despair at this time. Chun Jinqing suddenly said sharply, "Shiyu, it's all your fault. You could have kept distracting the black bear, then we can at least stall until someone comes to rescue. But you tried to be a hero and stabbed the black bear's eye. We are all dragged down by you. Now that the formation cannot be completed, it is you who caused us to die here." Chun Jinqing's words made most of the people present look suspicious. Just now, Shiyu suddenly turned around and attacked the black bear's eye, making them puzzled. If Shiyu could keep the black bear under control, the black bear would not have gone rampage at all. That innocent examinee didn't have to die. "Stop it!" Wei Qingyuan clutched his chest, and he suddenly gritted his teeth fiercely. "You idiots know shit!" The angry voice and words made the candidates stunned. They didn't understand why Wei Qingyuan, who should be most angry, should speak for Shiyu. Wei Qingyuan closed his eyes and glanced at Shiyu, who still tried to look calm even though she looked pale and was sweating profusely. He took a deep breath and said slowly, "You don't understand why Shiyu attacked the black bear? Then let me tell you the reason. It's because I'm too weak, and you all are too weak." "What?" "Wei Qingyuan, what do you mean by that?" Chun Jianqing gritted his teeth and said, "Just because you know Shiyu well, you can speak for him regardless of facts and morals?" Chapter 11:17. Cooperate, Chun Jianqing. You are the one who shouldn't talk. If you hadn't used 5-color Luyan on the black bear, would we have gotten to this point? As soon as Wei Qingyuan said this, everyone immediately remembered what Chun Jianqing had done. They looked at him as if they wished to smash him into pieces. Han Xin'er suddenly said, "Young Master Wei, what do you mean when you say Shiyu is for us?" Wei Qingyuan coughed, and his cheeks flushed abnormally. He said self-deprecatingly, "Although the formation I used is powerful, I was seriously injured when I trapped the black bear, and the cultivation of you guys is also uneven. This cannot exert the true power of the formation at all. I didn't say it at first, just because I never thought that we still had a chance. I never thought that the formation could be formed. However, I didn't expect that Shiyu actually managed to contain the black bear, and he also discovered the weakness of the formation." Wei Qingyuan looked at Shiyu with a guilt face. "Shiyu, did you hurt the black bear first because you knew that we couldn't trap the black bear with our immature formation?" Everyone looked at Shiyu with faces full of guilt. The young man in front was frail, and his face was even paler than Wei Qingyuan's, making his face look more lonely and vulnerable at this time. It was this foundation establishment stage young man who held off the black bear by himself. He was always at the brink of death, and he had to think about them. Who knew he would be misunderstood by them like this? Many people couldn't wait to slap themselves. "Who knows?" The young man sneered instead of nodding. "This is just your whimsical thought. I didn't have much hope for this formation at all. I chose to take risks and hurt the black bear not for you guys, but it was to cooperate with someone outside who was trying to take control of the secret realm." "What?" Wei Qingyuan's eyes widened in shock. Then he suddenly realized, "That's right. As long as we hurt the black bear here, its ability to control the secret realm will be weakened, and the chance for us to escape will increase." As Wei Qingyuan was going to ask more, an angry roar came. Of course, the broken runes couldn't hold back the black bear much, but it made him even more mad and angry that it wanted to die with everyone. Lightning struck at them. One of the examinees was slowed by a beat, and he was engulfed by the lightning. When the lightning dissipated, he had turned into a charred corpse. Everyone was so frightened that they couldn't move, watching their companions die one after another without the ability to fight back. Not to mention resistance, they couldn't even take a step. Seeing the huge body of the black bear rushing over, the crowd screamed in despair. Suddenly, they felt pain on their bodies, then they were tied into a ball and were ejected violently. As soon as Hushi withdrew her whip, these people were thrown aside. Then she rushed toward the black bear. Chapter 11:18. Must hold on. Han Xin'er looked at Shiyu, who rushed up to fight with the black bear, and she gritted her teeth. "Shiyu has done enough. We have so many gold core stage. How can we let a foundation establishment stage save us?" After speaking, she jumped up and joined the battle. Several other gold core stage examinees looked at each other, and they calmed down. "We only need to hold on for a while. If Shiyu alone is not enough to delay the time, then we will go together. Yes, we have been cultivating for many years. Is it just to hide behind a foundation establishment stage, young man? We are the gold core stage. We should at least stand up to protect the juniors of the Meridian stage. Otherwise, if we enter the Miracle Healer Academy in the future, how do we the doubts of others?" On the chaotic plane, all the gold core stage candidates soared into the sky and flew toward the black bear. The power of lightning made the black bear's surroundings fill with smoke. These gold core stage examinees were engulfed by the smoke as they rushed in. Their life or death was unknown. The Meridian stage examinees were all waiting outside. No one fled. They just looked at the direction of the black bear with red eyes. Of all the people present, only Chun Jianqing's face was distorted. His eyes were full of resentment and unwillingness. "Everyone listen. We will be teleported right away." Wei Qingyuan's joyful voice suddenly came from not far away, and it clearly reached everyone's ears, including those who were fighting desperately against the black bear in the smoke. All the gold core stages rushed up, but Wei Qingyuan didn't move. He stayed where he was and formed an enchantment with the only monster essence pill left. He wanted to get in touch with the elders of the college who was seizing control outside of the secret realm to save everyone. Fortunately, he really got in touch with Dean Zheng's divine sense. Dean Zhang told them that the teleportation enchantment would be activated soon. All of them would be able to escape. Are we really going to be saved? Very good. The Meridian stage martial artists who remained outside burst into tears of joy and hugged each other. Then someone shouted in the direction of the smoke, "Shiyu, seniors of the gold core stage, you must hold on. We will be out soon." The cheering voice resounded throughout the mountains and the secret realm. Even the roar of the black bear was overwhelmed by their voice. That was their hope of survival. In the audience, only Chen Jianqing's face was distorted. The hope to survive in his eyes was devoured bit by jealousy and selfishness. Suddenly, he sneaked into the smoke while everyone was not paying attention. The thunderbolt kept sounding in their ears, but the shock and fear brought by the lightning could not affect the good mood of these examinees. Hushi glanced at the injured people and said solemnly, "You all form a sword formation. We are going to retreat. I will hold this black bear first." "Yes, Shiyu, be careful." Hushi was only at the foundation establishment stage, but all the gold core stage present did not question her order at all. Their eyes were even full of gratitude. In just a few seconds, if it wasn't for Shiyu protecting them, they would have been killed by the black bear. It was impossible to wait for the moment of surviving this. How could they not be grateful of Shiyu? Chapter 11:19. Swallowed. Several people formed a sword formation, defending while retreating. Shiyu was very close to the black bear. While avoiding the attack of the bear's paw and lightning, she kept attracting its attention, preventing it from attacking other examinees. Suddenly, everyone felt that the air around them was turbulent, as if there was some powerful collision that made the entire space unstable. Outside the smoke, Wei Qingyuan's surprised and eager voice came. "Everyone gets ready. We are leaving the secret realm." Wei Qingyuan's words made everyone in the smoke overjoyed. The joy and pride of surviving the crisis made them put down the long swords in their hands. Their eyes were full of tears. Even Hushi, while not completely letting down her guard like them, couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Rank 7 magical beast was really not something she could deal with now. She had no spiritual power left at all. If this dragged for a few minutes, she would die in the hands of the black bear. However, when everyone felt at ease, the black bear slapped, and Hushi's body flying high in the sky dodged easily, but suddenly she felt a huge force coming from behind. No, not just one, but two. Hushi was caught off guard. She wanted to mobilize spiritual power, but her spiritual power had long since exhausted. Her entire body was pushed in the direction of the black bear helplessly. She smelled a bloody stench, and the last thing she saw were the sharp teeth of the black bear and the scarred dark red tongue. "Ah! Shiyu, how did it happen?" The shrill and panicked shouts echoed in the valley, causing endless panic in the hearts of everyone outside the smoke who didn't know what was going on. Wei Qingyuan had an ominous premonition in his heart when he heard them shouting Shiyu. Seeing that several people in the gold core stage were pushed out by the black bear, he hurriedly stepped forward and said, "What happened?" He glanced around, but he didn't see the familiar figure. He said with worried, "Where's Shiyu?" From the smoke came the roar of the black bear, and lightning was launched on them. Han Xiner was trembling all over. Her face was even uglier than when she was attacked by black bear just now. Shiyu, he was swallowed by black bear." "What did you say?" Wei Qingyuan was in shock. He almost said with a roar, "Stop joking. How could Shiyu?" Han Xiner's eyes were red, and several other gold core stage examinees were crying with regret. Suddenly one of them gritted his teeth and said, "I saw it. I saw a pair of hands behind Shiyu's back." Someone was trying to kill Shiyu, but I didn't see that person clearly. Wei Qingyuan only felt a buzzing sound in his head, and he rushed toward the black bear without thinking. Are you crazy? Someone hurriedly grabbed him. Shiyu can't be saved anymore. Wei Qingyuan, even if you go there, you can only die with him. Yeah, Shiyu doesn't want you to do this either. Wei Qingyuan shoved them away. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. If I know who is the one who attacked companion from behind, if I know who harmed Shiyu, I will let him die horribly. After he finished speaking, he didn't say a word, and he jumped toward the black bear. However, at the moment Wei Qingyuan flew up, the air and spiritual power in the secret realm all violently fluctuated. Chapter 11:20. Come out. The figures of the 10 remaining examinees disappeared one by one in the elusive forest. Shiyu. Before Wei Qingyuan's figure disappeared, he couldn't help but let out a roar. And Chen Jiansheng, who was hiding in the grass, showed a sinister smile and also disappeared into the secret realm. In the square in front of Miracle Healer Academy, many people were waiting anxiously. They were all relatives or servants of those who participated in the assessment this time, because the stipulated time for the second round of assessment was 10 days. Today was the last day. Soon, the people they were waiting for came out. But some came out intact, while others came out dead. Some people lost their hope of entering the Miracle Healer Academy this year after this round of assessment, and some people joined the path to become a powerhouse. So at this moment, all the people waiting outside looked solemn and anxious. Even Bai Hu and the others were no exception. Qingwan, don't walk around in front of me anymore. I'm dizzy. Young Master's skills are so good. He will definitely pass a mere assessment in the secret realm. Qingwan frowned and glared at him. Don't keep drinking water if you're not worried. Who didn't know that Bai Hu would keep drinking water whenever you're nervous? Bai Hu laughed twice, put down the teacup in his hand, and glanced at Gu Lufeng on the side. He found that only this guy was always calm. He was even holding the account book and inscribed jade slip to check Xingda Hall's account. However, after observing for a while, Bai Hu suddenly realized that Gu Lufeng had been looking at the page for almost a quarter of an hour. He didn't turn the page at all. They are here. Look, the teleportation array is on. How is that possible? There are still more than half an hour before the end of the assessment. The teleportation array is really lit on? Is the assessment really over? Everyone gathered in front of the 8 teleportation arrays. After the white light flashed, several figures quickly appeared in front of everyone, accompanied by a strong smell of blood. Everyone couldn't help but tremble when seeing their red eyes and the murderous intent. What's going on? Why are there only so few people? What about the rest? Soon, their answers were answered. The white light of the teleportation array lights up again, and there were many more things in the center of the teleportation array. Yes, things. Some were broken arms, some were half heads, some were broken pieces of meat, and some were half bodies. A more intense bloody smell filled the square, making people want to spit it out. Soon people in Miracle Healer Academy work clothes stepped forward and quickly cleaned up the corpses. These candidates who died in elusive forest could no longer tell which parts were whose remains, so they could only be buried together. At this time, the people in the square who were stunned by this scene finally reacted. Someone couldn't help exclaiming, "What happened? Where's my brother? Why are only these few people coming out? My young master is a gold core stage? He is impossible to die. Where is my young master?" There was a panic in the crowd. Soon, in the barrier of Miracle Healer Academy, Elder Qin and the boy in green clothes slowly walked out. Chapter 11:21. Nonsense, what does this mean? Someone shouted excitedly. Could it be that, except for these 10 people, everyone else died? Elder Qin sighed softly and said, "This is not what we want either." In the square, some people cried in pain and some people cursed angrily. But they didn't dare to scold the academy, so they could only scold God for letting the most outstanding genius in their family die here. Elder Qin lowered his eyes and looked sad, but he was completely indifferent to it. Anyway, Most of the candidates who died were just insignificant people with no family background. As long as the several descendants of the Feng family, Han family, and Xia family were safe and sound, it would be enough. The 10 surviving candidates slowly walked out of the teleportation array. All of them had exhausted spiritual power and were covered in scars. They did not have the joy of surviving the crisis, except for Chan Jiancheng. Wei Qingyuan just took 2 steps, then his arm was suddenly pulled. Wei Qingyuan, where is my young master? Wei Qingyuan raised his head and immediately saw Bai Hu's anxious face. He thought of the amazingly talented young man and the way he fought with the black bear, and he felt a heartache suddenly. I'm sorry, I didn't protect him well. What do you mean by that? Bai Hu's voice suddenly became sharp and fierce. Where is my young master? A gold core stage young man standing behind Wei Qingyuan said hoarsely with red eyes, Are you talking about Shiyu? Shiyu. Shiyu is dead. Impossible. 3 unanimous voices sounded with complete, unquestionable determination. Don't talk nonsense. Both Qing Luan and Bai Hu glared at the young man, and even Gu Liufeng's eyes were full of coldness and tint. The boy was startled, but he wiped his tears and whispered, It's true. We saw it with our own eyes that Shiyu was swallowed by the black bear. The other person bit his lip and said, We saw it too. Shiyu was always at the forefront. Thanks to him, we were able to survive until the teleportation array opened. But Shiyu, Gu Lufeng clenched his hands into fists, but his peach blossom eyes seemed to be dyed red by scarlet flames. Have you seen Shiyu's body with your own eyes? Wei Qingyuan froze for a moment, then he shook his head. But he was swallowed by the black bear. How could he survive? Gu Lufeng sneered and said viciously, As long as I don't see Shiyu's body, I will never believe that he is dead. Yes, how could young master die so easily? Qing Luan's red eyes widened, staring at the teleportation array, as if just looking at it like this, her miss would appear. The place where Elder Qin and the boy in green clothes were located was not far from Bai Hu and others, so he naturally heard their conversation. He suddenly let out a low cough, attracting everyone's attention. Then he said loudly, Elusive forest has been greatly damaged due to the appearance of rank 7 magical beast. Therefore, the Academy decided to close the secret realm in advance. This is also to prevent the black bear from running out of the secret realm and wreak havoc in the Academy. Chapter 1122. Close the teleportation array. After speaking, he waved at the boy in green clothes. Ah Qing, prepare to take the crystal stone and close the teleportation array. The boy in green clothes bowed and said, Yes. Who dares to close the teleportation array? The icy voice sounded with a cold anger. Gu Lufeng and Bai Hu spoke in unison. They took a step forward and stood in front of the 6th group's teleportation array, looking at the boy in green clothes with cold and murderous eyes. The boy in green clothes frowned. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to be the enemy of Miracle Healer Academy? Bai Hu said solemnly, My young master will never die so easily. The teleportation array cannot be closed. He will definitely come out. Qing Luan also walked quickly to Bai Hu and Gu Liufeng's side and said in a hoarse voice, Everyone who is alive here didn't see the corpse of our young master, and I have confirmed that young master's authenticating object isn't here. So, our young master must be still alive. My God, still alive after being swallowed by the black bear? Are they still dreaming? Not to mention that Shiyu only has a foundation establishment stage, right? I'm afraid that even if he wasn't eaten by the black bear, he is already dead by now. I think Shiyu's subordinates are too sad that they have gone crazy. The onlookers pointed at them and whispered. The family members and subordinates of these examinees were sad when they learned that the people they were waiting for had died, but they were already mentally prepared. Miracle Healer Academy's entrance examination had casualties every year. This year's examinees just happened to encounter the rank 7 magical beast. Wei Qingyuan also suddenly reacted at this time, took a step forward, looked at Elder Qin and said nervously, Elder Qin, didn't you say that if every candidate dies, the corresponding recording stone will shatter, right? Then is Shiyu's recording stone shatter? Elder Qin was stunned for a moment. Naturally, he didn't notice such details, So he looked at the boy in green clothes beside him. The boy in green clothes hurriedly ordered someone to fetch Shiyu's recording stone. After a while, a few young men came out from behind the enchantment of the academy. They were the members of the Academy Student Council who were in charge of invigilating the exam. Among them were Vice President Caillou, who was monitoring Hashi, and Zhang Chong, who was monitoring Qian Jiancheng. Caillou took out the recording in his hand and handed it to Elder Qin. The gray stone had faint cracks on it. Obviously, it could not be activated. However, it was different from the examinees who were dead because their recording stones were directly shattered. Elder Qin frowned and said, "What's going on?" Caillou shook his head and said, "I don't know either, but after Shiyu was swallowed by the black bear, the recording stone had a crack." Elder Qin immediately said, "It's already obvious. This recording stone should have some flaws, so it didn't shatter. But Shiyu is definitely dead. Otherwise, the control of the secret realm has been taken back. Why can't the recording stone be activated?" With that said, he waved to the boy in green clothes beside him and said, "Go close the teleportation array." "Wait a minute." Wei Qingyuan hurriedly stopped the boy in green clothes, and he said with a sullen face, "Elder Qin, we really didn't see Shiyu's corpse with our own eyes, and there was no Shiyu's body in the teleported body corpses. Since the recording stone is not broken, it means that Shiyu is really still alive? Even if you can't send someone into the secret realm to save her, you should at least wait a while before closing the teleportation array, right?" Chapter 11:23. Object. Elder Qin sneered, "Ah Qing, get them all out of the square. Anyone who dares to interfere with the Academy's affairs will be the enemy of the entire Miracle Healer Academy. Wei Qingyuan, think about it clearly. For a mere Shiyu, can you afford to take the responsibility?" Wei Qingyuan's face became ugly. His pale lips trembled slightly, and his voice was deep like water. "Elder Qin, don't forget, there is still half an hour before the assessment ends. Moreover, in the past, the teleportation array will only be closed after the assessment ends for 1 hour. I have never heard that it will be closed early. Even if rank 7 Black Bear is powerful, but now that Branch Dean Song is in charge, we don't have to be afraid of the Black Bear at all." Why did Elder Qin insist on closing the teleportation array in advance? What if Shiyu is really still alive? Could it be that Elder Qin wants Shiyu to die in there? Wei Qingyuan's words were extremely straightforward, and he said them in front of so many people in the square. This made Elder Qin's face extremely ugly. He looked at Wei Qingyuan coldly. "What do you mean? So many people saw that Shiyu being swallowed by a black bear. How could he still be alive?" Before Elder Qin could finish his words, a woman with a haggard face suddenly appeared out of the 10 survivors. "I also think that the teleportation array cannot be closed. Maybe Shiyu can really escape from death." It was Han Xianer, the eldest lady of the Han family. Han Xianer, who is famous for being cold and arrogant, actually speaks for Shiyu. There was an uproar in the square, and Elder Qin's already ugly face became even more distorted at this time. Immediately afterward, the second and third people came out. "Shiyu took the risk to contain the black bear for us. Even if there is only a slight possibility, we hope he can survive." That's right, as Gold Core Stage, we are ashamed of not being able to help Shiyu when dealing with the black bear. Elder Qin, just wait a little longer before closing the teleportation array. Without Shiyu, all of us would have died long ago. Almost everyone who came out of the elusive forest secret realm stood in front of the teleportation array together with Wei Qingyuan and Han Xianer. They looked haggard and their spiritual power was exhausted, but their eyes were extremely determined. Elder Qin looked back and forth at them with dark eyes. He thought it was an easy thing, but he didn't expect so many people to object. Who the hell is this Shiyu? He is just a foundation establishment stage. Why are there so many people of the Gold Core Stage speaking up for him? The more it is like this, the more I can't let him live. Shiyu was swallowed by the black bear. How could he still survive? Just as the two sides were at a stalemate, Qian Jianqing's sharp voice suddenly came from the side. "The black bear is so powerful. Just to wait for the long-dead Shiyu. You want to keep the teleportation array open? What if the black bear comes out? Have you all thought about it?" As soon as Qian Jianqing said this, Everyone's eyes were focused on him. Many people's eyes were very strange. Out of 10 people, 9 of them were speaking up for Shiyu, hoping that Shiyu would survive. But only Chun Jiansheng seemed to want Shiyu to die. The ice spiritual power spread out, quickly dissipating a lot of the scorching breath in the giant bear's stomach. However, as soon as Hushi's skin came into contact with the giant bear's gastric juice, she still felt a biting pain. She lowered her head and looked at her arm. The skin that was originally lustrous and jade-like seemed to have small holes at this time. Her flesh was also badly corroded. Her face, neck, and even nose were being corroded too. Chapter 11:25. What to do, but Hushi only had a strong desire to survive at this moment. A long sword transfigured in her hand, and she attacked the stomach wall. However, before the tip of the sword touched the stomach wall, it was quickly melted away. Around the stomach wall, there seems to be an extremely special spiritual power film attached, so that the prey that had been swallowed in the stomach had no way to resist. It could only wait to be digested. The burning pain came all over her body, making her want to moan and groan in pain. She couldn't think clearly at all. She felt more and more tired, more and more eager to sleep forever. Mom, Mom, don't die. Woo! Suddenly, Little Egg's heart-wrenching cry sounded in her ear. Mom, you said you would never leave Little Egg alone. You said it. Hushi opened her eyes abruptly. Blood dripped from her face, and it hurt her to her core, but it also woke her up. Now the little ones like Little Egg are locked in the void and can't get out. But if I die, Little Egg will turn into a giant egg and fall asleep again, and Little Golden Dragon, Xiao Li, and Little Dumb Cow will all become food for the black bear. Moreover, Xiao Qi is also in the void. I have been sorry for him all her life. I promise to take good care of him in this life and let him grow up safely and happily. Even if I don't care about my own life or death, I absolutely can't let these little guys die with me. Hushi opened his mouth, and her hoarse voice sounded in the stinking and hot, airtight space. Little Golden Dragon, you were once a high-level magical beast. Tell me, what else can I do to escape from this? Boss. Little Golden Dragon's voice burst into tears. Boss, hold on. We have a way to escape. There must be a way. Think. Right. Monster Essence Pill. Little Golden Dragon suddenly jumped 3 feet high in the void and said loudly, Boss, Monster Essence Pill is in the Danteon of monsters, which is the foundation of their lives and the source of their strength. As long as you can devour the Monster Essence Pill, you can escape out of it. Devouring the Monster Essence Pill? Hushi's voice became even more hoarse, but she was looking forward to it. How can I swallow the Monster Essence Pill? Boss, have you forgotten? In the Maha inheritance you got from the Purple Golden Palace, there is a chapter dedicated to how to devour Monster Essence Pill, Gold Core, and Nascent Soul. Although Monster Essence Pill is different from the spiritual power system of human cultivation, even if you devour a Monster Essence Pill, you can convert its power for your own use. However, this black bear will surely die. In that way, we will all be saved. Cough, cough. Because Hushi spoke, and the corrosive stench entered her throat, making her lose the ability to speak. How to leave? To get to the Monster Essence Pill. Little Golden Dragon froze immediately after hearing the words, and he hurriedly wandered around the void. All the internal organs of the black bear are protected by spiritual power membrane. Boss can't get to the Monster Essence Pill at all. What to do? Boss can't even last 10 minutes. Sister. In the void, Xiao Qi, who was standing beside the spirit spring, suddenly said, Sister, I don't want Sister to die. Help Sister. Please, help Sister for me. Chapter 11:26. Would source the young man's clear voice had sincerity, anxiety, and crystal clarity. He murmured to himself at the beginning until he shouted in the end. His voice caught the eyes of Little Egg, Xiao Li, and Little Golden Dragon. The next moment, these little guys were stunned. From Xiao Qi's Danteon, green light appeared and surged toward the top of the void. Little golden dragon's eyes widened, and he exclaimed, "My God, it is the wood source." And Hushi, who was in the stomach wall of the black bear, had already felt that her strength was fading. Not only her skin, but even her internal organs gradually corroded due to breathing. She gradually lost her sight. All 5 senses were lost. Vitality was lost, and even spiritual power was completely exhausted. But suddenly, she felt a powerful force pouring into her body. Immediately afterward, the eyes that had been completely blind could suddenly see, and the internal organs in Dantian, which had been gradually corroded, were restored to their original state. Although her skin was still corroded with scorching pain, her power had returned. Moreover, at the moment of life and death, she already sensed the position of the monster essence pill. Hushi opened her eyes abruptly, flicked her wrist, and Li Shui's sword appeared in her scarred palm. Spiritual power membrane of the rank 7 magical beast? Since single water spiritual power and fire spiritual power cannot deal with it, what if I use the 5-element spiritual power? The surging spiritual power flowed from the Dantian to the meridians of the whole body, and it finally gathered on the Li Shui sword. The Li Shui sword, which was originally only suitable for the dual attributes of water and fire, shone in colorful brilliant at this moment. Coupled with the corrosive mucus in the stomach wall of the giant bear, it made a sizzling sound as if the Li Shui sword was being reforged. Boom! A powerful spiritual power hit the giant bear's stomach wall. In elusive forest, the black bear let out a painful roar as it rolled on the ground in pain. The sudden change caused the only officer of the Academy Student Council who stayed in the monitoring room to check the situation in the elusive forest. His eyes widened in shock. Wasn't this black bear all right just now? What happened all of a sudden? In the image of the recording stone, the black bear's expression became more and more painful, and its cry became more and more miserable and angry. Moreover, the flesh and fur on his body kept growing and shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. All the boulders and trees next to the black bear collapsed under its impact, and some low-level magical beasts fled wildly to the edge of the elusive forest. The officer was about to turn around and report the situation to the elders. However, just as he turned around, he suddenly heard a loud bang. When he turned around again, he could only see that the giant recording stone had completely shattered. The time for an incense quickly passed, but there was still no movement in the direction of the 6th group of teleportation array. Chen Jianqing looked at Wei Qingyuan and Han Qianers anxious and irritable, and his eyes were full of irresistible pleasure. That bitch, Shiyu, stole my limelight again and again. He made me fall from heaven to hell. He even won the favor of Miss Han. But so what? Isn't he dead now? I pushed him into the bear's mouth. Not even a piece of him left. Ha ha ha. Chapter 11:27. Never compromise in the silent square. The boy in green clothes suddenly stood up and said, "The time is up. Prepare to close the teleportation array now." As soon as he finished speaking, Caillou and the other members of the Academy Student Council were the first to walk over and quickly cut off the crystal stone's energy connection to the teleportation array. The first teleportation array was closed. The second teleportation array was closed. When Caillou and the others wanted to cut off the crystal stone energy of the 6th teleportation array, a sword light flashed and brushed past Caillou's cheek. Gu Liufeng's eyes exuded evil murderous intent through the mask. He looked at Caillou coldly. Who dares to touch this teleportation array? Bai Hu and Qing Luan also walked quickly to the 6th teleportation array with fierce faces. Bai Hu even tried to enter the teleportation array, wanting to enter the elusive forest to save Hushi, but without the inscribed jade slip, the teleportation array would naturally not activate. Even Wei Qingyuan and Han Qianer came over and guarded the other direction of the teleportation array. Although they did not speak, everyone's expressions expressed their determination to never compromise and retreat. Caillou looked at them with a complicated expression. Shiyu, is he really a villain? If Shiyu is really some kind of insidious and selfish villain, how can these people protect him like this? Even for his little hope of survival, they don't even care about their own future in life. Especially Wei Qingyuan and Han Xian'er. I'm sure that they didn't know Shiyu before the assessment. So what's the magic of Shiyu? What makes them treat him like that? Ren Shuling said that Shiyu is a despicable and shameless villain. Is it completely true? Caillou was entangled in his heart, but Elder Qin stepped forward and sneered. What do you think this place is? Do you think we will tolerate your lawlessness and wanton behavior? As soon as he spoke, a powerful spirit pressure suddenly released from him. The coercion of nascent soul stage made Gu Lufeng, Baihu and others look ugly. Wei Qingyuan even bled from his mouth. He was seriously injured in the secret realm just now, and now his strength was exhausted. How could he withstand the spirit pressure of Elder Qin? However, his expression was calm. He squatted on the ground while clenching his teeth, blocking those Academy Student Council's members who wanted to rush over to take the crystal stone. He would not give in a single step. Baihu's spiritual power suddenly skyrocketed, and he spouted blood, but he didn't seem to notice. He stepped forward and said fiercely, "Let us go into the secret realm to find young master." Are you dreaming? The boy in green clothes sneered. He didn't put these gold core stage boys into his eyes at all. However, Baihu slowly sneered as he took out a faint green inscribed jade slip. After inputting a little bit of spiritual power, the totem of Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise appeared. Baihu raised his voice abruptly. This totem, I'm sure everyone here will recognize it. Mr. Shi is the life-saving person of my master. Master once told us to ensure the safety of Mr. Shi. If someone dares to harm Mr. Shi and I can't deal with it, as long as I activate this inscribed jade slip, Master will come even if he is thousands of miles away. At that time, I don't know what my master will do in the end. Everyone present stared at this totem in shock. Han Xian'er and Wei Qingyuan didn't receive fatal attack, but they consumed a lot in the elusive forest, so they couldn't defend the crystal stone of the teleportation array. Elder Qin saw that a dozen of gold core stages actually couldn't deal with Gu Lufeng and Baihu. He snorted coldly, and his killing intent was even greater. He flicked his wrist, and a slender sword was launched toward Baihu suddenly. Bang! With a loud noise, Baihu was knocked back again and again, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This sword trick had no trick, but it contained 80% of the nascent soul stage's power. How could he resist? As a result, his defense was obviously breached. Caillou, who was fighting against him, was stunned. Then he took a step forward and slashed at the crystal stone. Chapter 11:29. Return of the King. Just as Caillou's sword lifted, a blinding white light suddenly radiated from the center of the teleportation array. Immediately afterward, the entire teleportation array seemed to be twisted. All the people fighting stopped in shock and looked at the center of the teleportation array. After a while, a strong and pungent bloody smell, mixed with a rancid smell, rushed to their faces. Immediately afterward, a figure slowly appeared in the teleportation array. The killing intent revealed shocked everyone present. The appearance of the person was in an indescribable bad state. The clothes were all tattered, and the clothes on arms and calves were already rotten, revealing the vague snow-white skin. The hair was also loose, and its hair was covered with disgusting flesh and mysterious objects. There were traces or strips of bloody minced meat. But all this was not the most shocking to everyone present. What shocked them the most was that when the young man raised his head, his clear eyes slowly swept across the crowd, and a strong cold aura filled the air, causing everyone present, including Elder Qin, to shiver. Just like the return of the king, the ministers bowed down. They had a terrifying urge to kneel to this young man. The time and space on the square seemed to freeze at this moment. Suddenly, the young man raised his sword and swiped lightly in the left direction. The sword that exuded a peculiar multicolored light just swiped lightly, then a powerful sword light to the side. Ah! Someone let out a shrill scream as he was knocked to the ground by the sword light. It turned out that Elder Qin's subordinate wanted to attack Qing Luan while she was not prepared. Qing Luan snapped back to her senses and fixed her eyes fixed on the dirty and messy boy. Slowly, the anxiety, longing, and anticipation in her eyes all turned into the joy after surviving death. "WA, young master, you're still alive." Qing Luan suddenly jumped into Hushi's arms, and this woman, who had always been cold, started crying in front of everyone. "Young master, you are really alive. It's great, really great." Baihu spat out a mouthful of blood, but there was no pain on his face. Instead, he was full of excitement. He couldn't help grabbing Gu Liufeng's shoulder and shouting, "See, I told you my young master won't die like that. They are really stupid to say that he was dead. Just a black bear. How can it kill young master? I knew it. I knew it all along." Baihu was exerting too much force on Gu Liufeng's shoulder, but he didn't seem to notice. He closed his eyes to hide the sourness and scorching heat in them. He opened them after a while and said hoarsely, "She won't die, of course. She is the only master I swear allegiance to. She is the one who will one day stand on the top of all the powerhouses. Of course, she won't die." Hushi shoved Qing Luan, who was hanging on her, and said in helpless and touched, "Okay, Qing Luan, my body is full of flesh and blood. Don't you think it's dirty?" Qing Luan was crying and laughing, not caring at all about the flesh and stench on Hushi's body. She just kept checking Hushi's body and choked up, "Young master, are you really okay? They all say you were swallowed by a black bear. Did you get hurt after being swallowed? Did you feel any discomfort?" Chapter 1130. Indigestion. Hushi smiled slightly, and she cast water spiritual power to wash her body. Soon, the flesh and bloodstains on her hair were washed away, revealing her white skin. There was no damage or scar on her skin. Under the sunlight, it was even more moist and delicate with a clear luster, which stunned everyone. Even Lu Jishi, known as the #1 beauty in Miracle Healer Academy, doesn't have such an outstanding skin, right? There were also those beautiful phoenix eyes, delicate facial features, and slender figure. At this moment, many talents had discovered that the appearance of the young man in front was actually more delicate and beautiful than a woman. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he looked peerless. Wei Qingyuan suddenly came back to his senses, and he found that he was staring at Shiyu in a daze. He only felt his cheeks get hot, and even his heartbeat seemed to be a little irregular. However, he quickly regained his senses, stepped forward and said hoarsely, "Shiyu, it's great that you're still alive." Saying that, he wanted to put his hand on Hushi's shoulder. However, Hushi's clothes were in tatters at this time. Although she didn't reveal her body, the sleeves on her arms were corroded long ago. Looking at the snow-white slender arm, Wei Qingyuan could put his hand on it. Qing Luan hurriedly stepped forward and pushed Wei Qingyuan away, quickly took out a coat from the storage ring and put it on Hushi. "I'm too sloppy. Almost let other men take advantage of Princess. If Master knows about this, wouldn't he kill this man?" Hushi didn't notice this. She put on the clothes and looked around. Seeing this chaotic scene, she guessed what just happened, and she sneered. "Impossible. It's impossible." Chun Jianqing suddenly screamed, How did you come out? You were obviously eaten by the black bear. How could you survive?" Elder Qin looked at Hushi with an extremely ugly expression. He wanted to use the easiest way to get rid of Shiyu, but he didn't expect that Shiyu would come out alive in such a mortal situation. In particular, Shiyu at this time obviously only had the foundation establishment stage, but he had a strange feeling that he couldn't see her depth. This made Elder Qin's fear of this young man even stronger. He stared at Hushi coldly, and he suddenly said solemnly, "Shiyu, the students who came out of the secret realm said that you were eaten by the black bear, so how did you come out?" Hushi said lightly, "I don't know what happened. I just remember that someone pushed me behind my back, then I was inside the black bear. At that time, I thought I was going to die, but the black bear actually self-exploded. So, I'm out." "Self-exploded?" Elder Qin widened his eyes and said in disbelief, "Why did the black bear blew itself up?" I don't know about this. Hushi raised his mouth and half smiled. Maybe that black bear ate too much and had indigestion? Chapter 1131. Just search me. He looked suspicious, walked over to Elder Chin, and whispered something in his ear. Elder Chin frowned suddenly. The recording stone is broken. How is this possible? What about the secret realm? Did you find someone to check it? The young man nodded and said, Senior, he has already gone in to check it. The black bear indeed blew himself up and died. There are minced meats everywhere in the elusive forest, but Senior, he did not find the monster essence pill. Didn't find the monster essence pill? Elder Chin's brows were furrowed. He suddenly raised his head to look at Hushi and said solemnly, Shiyu, according to this invigilator, you have been in the black bear's belly for a long time. How could you still be alive? Did you do some tricks that we didn't know? Hushi couldn't help laughing. Elder Chin, did you make a mistake? Even if I want to do something, the black bear is rank 7 magical beast. Can I make it explode? Why don't Elder Chin find a rank 7 magical beast and do it? As for why I'm alive, I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky that I shouldn't die. I only know that when I woke up, I was outside the black bear and started to teleport. As for what happened, I'm not completely sure. Or does Elder Chin really think that a mere martial artist from the Foundation establishment stage can really handle rank 7 black bear alone? As soon as Hushi said this, everyone who had been with him in the secret realm nodded in agreement. Yeah, if Shiyu can really fight against the black bear alone, how could we be suppressed by the black bear? Shiyu was even swallowed up in the end. Shiyu's strength is definitely stronger than ordinary condensation period and even gold core stage. But to say that he can compete with rank 7 black bear, it is definitely impossible. We have fought side by side with her, so we know his strength better than anyone else. Maybe the black bear swallowed the magic weapons of others before, and Shiyu just hide in the magic weapon and escape? Right, I remembered it now. When Zhu Zhengwei was swallowed, he was casting a large magic weapon. Before the magic weapon was activated, he was swallowed by the black bear together with the magic weapon. Everyone's discussion made Elder Chin's face look even more ugly. If these candidates who participated in the assessment with Shiyu testified, it means that the death of rank 7 black bear really has nothing to do with Shiyu. However, if Shiyu didn't do anything, where would the monster essence pill be? That's a rank 7 monster essence pill. If I can get my hands on it, maybe I will be able to rise to the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage this year. Thinking of this, Elder Chin's eyes glowed as he stared straight at Hushi as if to see the depths of her heart. Shiyu, you narrowly escaped from the black bear. You must have picked up its monster essence pill, right? You hand over the rank 7 monster essence pill now. This is not something you can use and control at your current level. As long as you hand over the monster essence pill, your score will definitely be far ahead, and you will be the top one this year. When you enter the Miracle Healer Academy as the top scorer, the benefits you can get are simply immeasurable. Elder Chin's eyes were gloomy, but his tone was gentle and seductive. The other candidates on the side were all moved listening to it. But Hushi smiled leisurely, took out the storage bag and the inscribed jade slip, and said, Elder Chin, I have never seen any monster essence pill. If you don't believe me, you can search it. Chapter 1132. Can't see the slightest flaw. I believe that Elder Chin knows better than anyone else that these are the only things we can carry when we go in. If I get the monster essence pill, I absolutely cannot hide it. What's more, how can ordinary storage utensils hide the powerful aura of rank 7 monster essence pill? Elder Chin's face turned uncertain. He is right. Ordinary storage devices can't hide the aura of the monster essence pill at all, and they didn't bring any other storage devices. We had strictly checked it. As for swallowing or absorbing the monster essence pill on the spot, that's just nonsense. The monster essence pill contains not only powerful powers, but also countless poisons that are harmful to martial artists. Moreover, the energy of the monster essence pill is not as mild as crystal stone and medicinal pills. If he swallows it directly without refining it into medicinal pills, it is no different from suicide. Anyone who wants to directly devour the monster essence pill will only end up dying on the spot. Elder Qin was full of unwillingness, but his divine sense scanned Hushi up and down several times, and he finally determined that the young man did not take the rank 7 monster essence pill with him. However, what if Shiyu didn't take it away? Where did the rank 7 monster essence pill go? Hee. Of course Elder Qin couldn't find the Black Bear's rank 7 monster essence pill. In this world, no one could find the monster essence pill of Black Bear anymore because the monster essence pill of Black Bear had been completely swallowed by Hushi. However, from Hushi's body, he really couldn't see the slightest flaw. In the end, he said with a stern face, "This year's Miracle Healer Academy entrance examination is officially over. After 3 days, please come to this square to check the results of the examination. Shiyu, hand over all your things to the academy and we will count your points." Of course, Hushi would have no objection. Soon, she quickly handed over the storage bag and inscribed jade slip. Seeing that the boy in green clothes took the things, Elder Qin flicked his sleeve and went back to the academy. Chapter 1133. Is there something going on? Hushi suddenly said at this moment. "Excuse me, Elder Qin, if I want to check the paper for the written assessment, what conditions do I need?" Before Hushi's words were finished, a thump sound came from the side. Qian Jinqing actually fell to the ground, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. His face was even more drenched in cold sweat, as if he had encountered something terrifying. Elder Qin was slightly taken aback when he heard the words. He didn't expect Hushi to ask such a question. He frowned and said, "What do you mean by that? Do you have an opinion on the results announced by the academy?" Hushi looked to the side with a half-smile, and the smile in her eyes became stronger and stronger. Apart from Qian Jinqing, who fell on the ground and shivered, there were people present who showed strange expressions. Hushi's eyes fixed at Caillou. Although the young vice president of the Academy Student Council tried his best to keep his composure, the tiny sweat on his forehead and the blinking eyes still revealed his nervousness. When he met Hushi's gaze, he was startled and looked away as if he was guilty. Instead of being full of contempt, disgust, and hatred as he did when they first met. But the most interesting thing was another young member standing beside Caillou. Hushi would never forget what she saw and heard, so she soon recognized the invigilator of Qian Jinqing, Zhang Chong. Zhang Chong was more nervous than Caillou at this time. His hands by his side were clutching his clothes tightly, his nose was slightly widened, and even his breathing was hurried due to panic. When Hushi looked over, Zhang Chong lowered his eyes in a panic. There was a hint of remorse and guilt flashing on his face. It seemed that the cause and effect of the matter were already very clear without guessing. Hee. Vice President Caillou of the Academy Student Council? When we met for the first time, it was as if he knew me and couldn't wait to kill me. But I clearly remembered that I never met this person before taking the Academy entrance assessment. Why in the world would he set me up? At this time, Qian Jinqing, who was sitting on the ground, suddenly came back to his senses and shouted at Hushi, "Shiyu, how many troubles do you want to make? It's all because of you that we have to wait here. You obviously missed the end time of the second round of assessment, and you should have been eliminated. Now you dare to question the results announced by the academy? Don't you think this is too much?" Qian Jinqing's words made Elder Qin's face look extremely ugly. This Shiyu is really a thorn in the flesh. I can't wait to pull it out immediately. He said coldly, "Shiyu, stop fooling around. Miracle Healer Academy's assessment has always been rigorous. There will never be any mistakes. Don't question the fairness of the academy because of your low score in the written assessment. If you continue to mess around like this, then I can only remove you from the final list." Hushi sneered and was about to speak. But Wei Qingyuan stepped forward and stood in front of her and said, "Elder Qin is wrong. I heard from my master that the assessment of Miracle Healer Academy has always been open and fair. They allow anyone to check and review the results. What's more, checking the accuracy of written assessment is the easiest of all assessments, but Elder Qin still doesn't allow it. Is there really something going on?" Chapter 1134. I'm not in a hurry. Elder Qin's face became more and more ugly. He wanted to scold him severely, But Wei Qingyuan's identity was really not something he could offend casually. On the side, Chun Jiancheng was already sweating profusely. He wanted to say a few more provocative words. But at this moment, the eyes of all those who took the assessment looked at him with doubts, making him swallow the words he was going to say. Elder Qin waved his sleeve fiercely as he said, "It's not impossible if you want to check, but you asked too late. The written assessment results have already been recorded into the scroll. Miracle Healer Academy's scroll is only open to members of the Academy. If you are admitted, you can naturally apply for inspection." Hushi smiled and said indifferently, "Oh, is it? It doesn't matter. I'm not in a hurry anyway." Hushi said lightly, but her eyes seemed to swept over Chan Jianqing, Zhang Chong, and Kaiyu inadvertently. Chun Jianqing clenched his fists tightly. He looked at Hushi with resentment, panic, and unwillingness in his eyes. Zhang Chong was also flustered, not willing to meet Hushi's eyes at all. Only Kaiyu had regained his composure at this time. He gave Hushi a complicated glance and returned to the academy. In the square, there was silence at first. Then the surviving people surrounded Hushi, excitedly glad that she was still alive. The crowd asked a lot about what happened in the elusive forest, but Hushi just brushed them off. Finally, someone thought of Hushi's request just now and couldn't help but say, "Shiyu, why do you ask to check the results of the written assessment? Is there something wrong with the results?" Hushi smirked. "To see whether there is problem, isn't it easy to know after checking? Shiyu, I know you don't like me, but you don't need to use such a sinister method." Chan Jianqing shouted at Hushi sternly, "You want to check the results just because you want to drag me down so that you can take my top one place?" "Top one? You?" Hushi smiled coldly. She casually waved her hand and said, "Take your place? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Such a scumbag like you. I even feel myself cheap to be in the same assessment with you." Chen Jiancheng was beaten by Hushi and rolled several times on the ground. When he finally stopped, he spat out a mouthful of blood with two big teeth in it. Half of his face swelled up quickly. He was completely stunned. In front of everyone, he didn't expect Shiyu to attack him. He shouted hysterically at Hushi, "Shiyu, you bastard. Why are you hitting me? I'm going to Miracle Healer Academy to file a complaint against you and disqualify you from the assessment." "Chun Jianqing, have you forgotten? If it weren't for you wanted to show off with the 5-color Luyan, there wouldn't be so many people dead." A young man at the peak of Meridian stage suddenly rushed in front of Chen Jiancheng and sneered, "Just now in the secret realm, I've been wanting to beat you hard for a long time. Aren't you going to complain to Shiyu at Miracle Healer Academy? Then complain me as well." As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his fist and smashed it hard at Chen Jiancheng's face. "Damn it, I've been wanting to beat this bastard for a long time. Brother Zhang of our team was killed by the black bear because of him. I'm going to beat this bastard to death." Chapter 1135. 0 points. We almost died at the hands of this bastard by letting out the black bear in order to make a name for himself. Didn't someone just say that seeing Shiyu was pushed into the black bear? Maybe this bastard did it. The remaining few people were talking with righteous indignation. Some for themselves, some for their dead companions. They wished that the culprit, Chun Jianqing, would be smashed to pieces. The people in the square looked over at this time, and they saw that a group of people surrounded a man lying on the ground and beat him desperately. They couldn't see Chun Jianqing's face in it, but they could hear his wailing like killing a pig. Then it became more and more quiet. Hushi didn't care about this garbage anymore as she left the square. Qing Wan, Bai Hu and others hurriedly followed, and even Wei Qingyuan followed too. Wei Qingyuan ignored Qing Wan and Bai Hu's stern and unkind gazes, strode beside Hushi, and said familiarly, "Shiyu, I heard that you were swallowed by the black bear because someone pushed you. Then is it Chen Jianqing?" Hushi shook her head. "The smoke was so heavy that I couldn't see it clearly." But from Chen Jianqing's expression, she could be sure that at least one of the forces pushing her must be Chen Jianqing's. Wei Qingyuan frowned. "It's very likely that he did it." "Shiyu, are you going to let this scum go?" Hushi raised his eyebrows and smiled meaningfully. "What's the point of catching only a small shrimp? Of course, it's better to deal with the person standing behind Chan Jianqing. If I kill Chan Jianqing now, wouldn't it benefit the person behind him and another person who set me up? Equals the building where the Academy Student Council was located. At this time, the fragrance of tea was wafting in the huge room, and all kinds of people gathered together. Sitting at the top was Elder Qin and other elders of Miracle Healer Academy who were in charge of the entrance examination. Underneath were the invigilators of the Academy Student Council. With a wave of Elder Qin's hand, everyone's 2 rounds of assessment results were revealed. Caillou looked in the direction of Shi Yu subconsciously. When he saw that she had 503 points in the first round and 0 points in the second round, his pupils contracted slightly. Zhang Chong looked at Chan Jianqing naturally. He scored 999 points in the written assessment, and he even got 600 points in the second round. Zhang Chong couldn't help but smack his tongue when he saw this result. Elder Qin, why is Shi Yu's score 0 in the second round of assessment? One of the elders quickly stood up and asked. His performance in the second round of assessment was remarkable, and the storage bag he handed up also had many precious things. No matter how, he won't get 0. Elder Qin raised his eyebrows and said lightly, Shi Yu did not leave the elusive forest within the specified time, so he had violated the assessment rules, which is why I judged him to be 0. Elder Qin's words caused the elders to look at each other in dismay and hesitant. Although it was true that Shi Yu came out a little later than the actual end of the assessment, there were clearly special circumstances. So how could Shi Yu be judged to be 0 because of this? However, the prestige of Elder Qin in the academy was extremely high. Although these elders were similar in cultivation to Elder Qin, they did not dare to say much. Elder Qin coughed lightly with an arrogant smile. If you have no objection to the above results. Chapter 1136. All passed, Tiske. Surname Qin. The older you get, the less graceful you are. An old man's voice suddenly came from outside the door. What you are doing now is to push the mistakes in this elusive forest to the young man. Everyone's eyes looked outside, only to see an old man with messy hair and a smell of alcohol walking in with a laugh. He was looking at Elder Qin with a hint of sarcasm. It was Branch Dean Song who was found by the boy in green clothes to solve the crisis of Black Bear that day. Zhang Shouyue, what do you mean by that? Elder Qin said fiercely with a change of expression. The old man's name was Zhang Shouyue. He sneered while touching his messy beard. Nothing. I'm just talking about it casually. Just before the entrance examination started, you actually didn't check that there was a rank 6 magical beast that was about to advance, which almost endangered the lives of all examinees. I'm planning to report this matter to the dean and the vice dean. I wonder if Elder Qin is willing to go with me? Elder Qin's face turned pale. He gritted his teeth and said, Zhang Shouyue, you are not the invigilator of this assessment. Even if you want to report, it will not you. Why are you saying this? Do you really want to go against me? Zhang Shouyue's eyes slowly swept over Shi Yu's name and information, and his eyes were burning deep inside. Qin Dinghua, have you forgotten that the most fundamental thing of Miracle Healer Academy is our fairness and justice that foreign martial artists yearn for the most? You forcibly removed Shi Yu from the selection list because his position conflicted with you, which is clearly against the purpose of the academy. How dare you ask me what I mean? Elder Qin was speechless for a while. The other elders looked at each other in dismay, and someone suddenly suggested, let's vote. Please raise your hand if you agree that Shi Yu's second assessment will be included in the score. As soon as the elder finished speaking, he slowly raised his hand. Immediately afterwards, the second, third, and even the officers of the Academy Student Council below raised their hands one by one. Caillou lowered his eyes and looked blank, and he finally raised his hands. Except for Elder Qin and his confidant Elder Fu, almost all of them agreed. Elder Qin's face turned pale, but no matter how daring he was, he didn't dare to challenge the authority of the academy in front of Zhang Shouyue. Soon, Shi Yu's score in the second round was changed to 965 points. He suddenly rose from the last place to the top of the second round of assessment. Elder Qin stared at Zhang Shouyue, gritted his teeth and said, Are you satisfied now? Zhang Shouyue laughed and walked out staggeringly as if he just came here for a walk. Just walking outside, Zhang Shouyue's eyes flashed a gleam of light. It's been a long time since I've seen such an interesting little guy. How can I let him be eliminated like this? In the room, the statistics of the final assessment were still going on. Elder Qin's face was ashen because of Shi Yu's selection. The results were soon announced by Elder Fu. Elder Fu cleared his throat and said, "Due to the accident in the second round of assessment, only 11 people survived. Each of these 11 people fought heroically against the Black Bear and experienced life and death disasters. So, although some people's scores have not yet reached the passing line, we decided to make an exception." Chapter 1137. Embarrassed, wait a minute. An elder quickly stood up when he heard Elder Fu's words, frowning. "I don't object to the other 10 being accepted exceptionally, but this Chen Jiansheng, if it wasn't for his lack of judgment and common sense and greed for merit, there won't be so many people dying in this assessment. How can he get a high score of 600 in the second round?" That's right. An Academy Student Council's member stood up and said, "This kind of failure who likes to do dirty tricks behind should be eliminated directly, and the spiritual grass and monster essence pill he handed in are only rank 2. Even if only the scores are counted, he will never pass." Elder Fu's forehead was full of sweat. This Qian Jianqing. His eyes looked in the direction of Elder Qin. Elder Qin snorted coldly, stood up and said, "You only remember that Chen Jianqing's results of the second round were too poor. Did you forget that Chen Jianqing scored 999 in the written assessment, breaking the Academy's record? Even if his strength is not enough, but many research topics in the college are lacking such people to join. How can he not be accepted?" However, judging from Chen Jianqing's performance in the second round, he didn't have the ability to get close to full marks in the written assessment at all. Many people had such doubts on their faces. However, with a wave of Elder Qin's hand, he quickly interrupted everyone's dissent. The result of this assessment has been decided as it is. It will now be submitted to the Academy Student Council and the Dean Department for decision. It will be announced in 3 days. At the beginning of the nightlight, Chen Jianqing walked down the street of Miracle Healer City. At this time, his face was swollen like a pig's head. He was missing several teeth, and his clothes were even more tattered. He looked worse than an ordinary beggar in the city. Pedestrians on the road all avoided him when they saw him, showing a look of contempt and disgust. Chen Jianqing covered his face and desperately ran back to the inn where he was staying. However, as soon as he entered the gate of the inn, all his things were thrown out. The clerk at the inn looked down at him and said with disgust on his face, "Young Master Jiang from the first room said that he doesn't want to live in the same inn with a scum like you. So, please find another place to stay." Chen Jianqing received the scornful and gloating eyes of everyone, and his face was full of shame. He ran away embarrassingly. But deep in his eyes, there was a raging fire of jealousy. Just 10 days ago, he was the most sought-after top one by everyone. All the descendants of the noble families would curry favor with him. However, because of Shi Yu, he had nothing now. He was beaten into such a miserable state, and he didn't even have a place to live. Shi Yu, I must let this bastard suffer a living hell. Chen Jianqing, look at how you look now. What a shame. A woman's slightly hoarse and indifferent voice suddenly came from behind. Do you still remember how beautiful you were when the results of the written assessment were announced? Chen Jianqing turned his head abruptly and met the mocking eyes of the woman. He tremblingly said, You are. The appearance of the woman in front of her was not very good, at least compared to Shi Yu and Han Qian'er's gorgeous appearance. This woman could only be regarded as beautiful at most. Moreover, this woman's skeleton was very large, and her face was big and square as well. At first glance, if she was not dressed in woman clothes, many people might mistake her for a man. Even that kind of man that people wouldn't notice in a crowd. Chapter 1138. The other person seeing Chen Jianqing's surprised expression, the woman narrowed her eyes slightly and said slowly, What? Don't you know me? Did you forget that in elusive forest, if I didn't help you, you couldn't push Shi Yu into the mouth of the black bear at all? Chun Jianqing's pupils shrank suddenly, and his eyes widened suddenly in shock. Of course, he knew that in an elusive forest, besides himself, there was another person who pushed Shiyu. But at that time, he only saw one hand, but he didn't see the person's true face in the smoke. At this time, this unremarkable woman suddenly appeared in front of him. Chun Jianqing couldn't recognize it at first, but as soon as she mentioned elusive forest, Chun Jianqing remembered it completely. Because the identity of the woman in front of her was very special. If it weren't for her unrecognizable face, Chun Jianqing would not have recognized it at all. He trembled. Feng? Feng Yunqing. You are Feng Yunqing. The other person who pushed Shiyu in the elusive forest was you? Feng Yunqing smirked with a ruthless expression. Yeah, that's the easiest and most likely chance to kill Shiyu, but I didn't expect that he would be so lucky to survive that. Saying that, she looked at Chun Jianqing. You're now in desperation due to Shiyu. Don't you want to take revenge on him? Of course I fucking wanna. Chun Jianqing gritted his teeth and shouted, but he quickly lowered his head in frustration. But I can't be admitted into the Miracle Healer Academy at all. Shiyu is brilliant and excellent. How can I revenge on him? Feng Yunqing smiled softly and said, Don't worry, you will definitely be admitted into the Miracle Healer Academy. Saying that, she threw out an inscribed jade slip. You live in this place first. I will find you when I need it. What do you mean by that? Chun Jianqing chased after excitedly. However, Feng Yunqing's figure quickly disappeared. Chun Jianqing clenched his fist, and his expression was unpredictable. He was happy for a while, excited for a while, and worried and fearful for a while. He stood there for a long time before turning around and heading toward the spot marked by the inscribed jade slip. 3 days later, the examination results were officially announced. The square in front of Miracle Healer Academy was crowded with people watching the results and joining in the fun. Miracle Healer City would be so lively every year when the Miracle Healer Academy admissions list was announced. Especially the inns where the admitted students live would be full of lights and drums. They wished to tell that their inns had the best feng shui in the Miracle Healer City. What shocked everyone this time was that everyone who survived the second assessment was actually on the list. Many of the Meridian stage martial artists who took part in the assessment, handed in very poor things, had no hope at all, but they suddenly found out that they had been admitted. They immediately burst into tears, and their gratitude to Shiyu and Wei Qingyuan reached the max. If it wasn't for Shiyu and Wei Qingyuan, they would probably have been wiped out. How could they be so lucky to be admitted into the Miracle Healer Academy? Hushi was not interested in watching the ranking, but Qing Wan and Bai Hu insisted to bring her here. Seeing her score, Hushi nodded with satisfaction. It seemed that the Miracle Healer Academy was indeed fair. She glanced and saw the person who got the top one, Wei Qingyuan. She just smiled slightly. Chapter 1140. Seeing old faces the second day was sunny. Hushi's slender 5 fingers gently brushed the jade pendant hanging on her waist, and she slowly looked around. This was the first time she entered the barrier directly as a student of Miracle Healer Academy instead of through the teleportation array. When passing through the barrier, she felt the powerful and restrained power emanating from the jade pendant. From this, one could imagine how powerful this barrier outside Miracle Healer Academy was. Have you heard? Every year when new students are admitted, the Academy Student Council will hold an orientation. In addition to expressing their welcome to the new students, they will also recruit competent people to join the Academy Student Council and become intern officer. Yes. I also heard that at every orientation, Lu Jishi, the president of the Academy Student Council and the first beauty of Miracle Healer Academy, will come out to welcome in person. Ah, do you mean Fairy Jishi? I didn't expect a little guy like us to meet Fairy Jishi when we first enter Academy. No way, I'm starting to get excited now. My hands are full of cold sweat. If we can enter the Academy Student Council, it means that our future in Miracle Healer Academy is guaranteed. In front of Hushi, several newcomers who were selected this time were chatting excitedly. Lu Jishi? I didn't expect to see her so soon after parting away in Yangon City. Hushi sneered with a half-smile. It was still the boy in green clothes, who was in charge of the assessment, leading them. The boy in green clothes took everyone to sit down in a private room quickly. He cleared his throat and said, "Everyone here can join the Miracle Healer Academy, which is an affirmation of your ability. However, your ability is also divided into high and low. So next, whether it is the academy or dormitory you are assigned to or your future, they will be judged by your qualifications and the results in the assessment." As soon as the boy in green clothes said, everyone except Hushi and Wei Qingyuan looked at each other with worried expressions on their faces. When the boy in green clothes was about to say again, a giggling sound came from outside the door. "Brother Aching, why do you keep scaring these new students? Such a serious face, you'll frighten these people." Hushi's eyes narrowed slightly, and she recited 3 words in her mind, "Renshuling." Sure enough, 6 people walked in quickly from the door. The leader was a young woman in a green dress. She had a beautiful appearance and a noble and holy temperament. When everyone saw this young woman, they widened their eyes in excitement and reverence. Someone couldn't help but murmured, "Fairy Jishi, I didn't expect to see Fairy Jishi. She is so beautiful and noble." The woman at the front was Lu Jishi, and the one next to Lu Jishi was Ren Shuling. Chapter 1141. Top treatment. Seeing that she was really sitting on the chair and didn't even want to stand up to bow to Fairy Jishi, everyone looked a bit awkward. Even Wei Qingyuan showed a somewhat surprised expression. He knew that Shiyu always went her own way, but she was by no means a rebellious person. What happens to him today? Hushi raised her eyebrows and smiled slowly at Lu Jishi. In an instant, one felt that the sun was shining and flowers were scattering around. Wei Qingyuan, who was watching from the side, was in a trance for a while. He only thought in his mind, "Lu Jishi is known as the first beauty in the academy, but it is clear that Shiyu's appearance is even better than Lu Jishi. Unfortunately, Shiyu is a man." Lu Jishi narrowed her eyes slightly and motioned everyone to sit down again. "I think everyone has heard what senior fellow apprentice Aching said just now. Although our academy treats all students equally, the allocation of resources must be based on talents. So now, first of all, our Academy Student Council will announce the allocation of colleges and dormitories." After Lu Jishi finished speaking, he glanced at Ren Shuling. Ren Shuling was glaring at Shiyu, but when she received Lu Jishi's instructions, she sneered and took a step forward. "According to everyone's performance and grades in the entrance examination, we have made such arrangement for everyone. Wei Qingyuan, enter the Heaven Medical Branch. Stay in Heaven number 2 dormitory. Enjoy the first-class privilege. Han Xiner, enter the Earth Medical Branch. Stay in Earth number 1 dormitory. Enjoy the second-class privilege. Feng Tianqing, enter the Yellow Medical Branch. Stay in the Yellow number 3 dormitory. Enjoy the 4th-class privilege. He Jiang, enter the Hong Medical Branch. Stay in the Hong number 3 dormitory. Enjoy the 7th-class privilege. Shiyu, enter the Heaven Medical Branch. Stay in the Heaven number 1 dormitory. Enjoy the 1st-class privilege." As soon as Ren Shuling read the arrangements, the people below instantly burst into an uproar. Someone said in disbelief, "Wei Qingyuan was the first in this assessment, so it is fine for him to enter the Heaven Medical Branch and lived in the Heaven dormitory. Why can Shiyu also enter the Heaven Medical Branch?" The branches and dormitories of Miracle Healer Academy were named after Heaven, Earth, Xian, Huang, Yu, Zhou, Hong, Huang. No matter where the heaven was, it represented the highest level of treatment. The so-called first-class privilege was that students could get countless high-level crystal stones and medicinal pills every year, which is very helpful for cultivation. That's right. Even Wei Qingyuan only lives in the Heaven number 2. Why can Shiyu live in the Heaven number 1 dormitory? Heaven number 1 was a complete courtyard. The lowest manservants in it were all from the foundation establishment stage, and the spirit was rich and luxurious. Who didn't know that it represented the most luxurious and most enjoyable place in Miracle Healer Academy? Shiyu is only at the foundation establishment stage, and his written assessment scores are at the bottom. Why is his treatment better than Miss Han and young Master Wei? This is too unfair. There was a lot of righteous indignation underneath, and there were a lot of discussions. The gratitude that these people had for Shiyu all disappeared at this moment. They looked at Hushi with questioning eyes as if they were looking at a thief who stole their money. Renshuling, who was in charge of the announcement, sneered and said with a smile, "This is decided by the upper level of the academy. We Academy Student Council just act according to the rules." Lu Jishi also stood up at this time and said warmly, "Everyone, Shiyu's overall score is not high, but he saved everyone's life in the second round of assessment. It can be said that without Shiyu, everyone would even enter the Miracle Healer Academy." Chapter 1142. Fan the Flames, so I think Shiyu deserves such treatment. Please stop being prejudiced against him. However, Lu Jishi's words, instead of quelling everyone's dissatisfaction and complaints, made them even more annoyed. Yes, they did appreciate Shiyu's life-saving grace at first. However, when Lu Jishi said these words, it seemed that Shiyu was helping them with a purpose. Could it be because Shiyu saved us that he can be on top of us forever? Could it be because Shiyu saved us that we must be treated unfairly? Lu Jishi still had a warm and friendly smile on her face as if she didn't feel the anger of everyone below. She slowly walked down from above, came to Shiyu, smiled and said, "In addition, in my mind, Shiyu is also a rare talent. His potential is immeasurable. Therefore, I want to represent the Academy Student Council to invite you, of course, including Wei Qingyuan, who is the first in the total score, and Qian Jiancheng, who is the first in the written assessment to join the Academy Student Council. What do you all think?" Ah! Before Shiyu could answer, Qian Jiancheng had already let out an exclamation. He was trembling with excitement. His round body almost rolled off the chair. After regaining his senses, Qian Jiancheng suddenly knelt in front of Lu Jishi and said with excitement, "Fairy Jishi, I'm so honored to be able to join the Academy Student Council." His flattering appearance was very ugly, but everyone was still looking at Qian Jiancheng with envy, jealousy, and hatred. That's the Academy Student Council. Joining the Academy Student Council is like reaching the sky in one step. In the future, they will also lead a smooth sailing life. How many people dream of that? Lu Jishi looked at Wei Qingyuan with a smile. "Brother Wei, this is the first request I made to you after you entered the academy. You won't refuse me, will you?" Wei Qingyuan smiled casually and nodded lightly. "Okay, I will join the Academy Student Council." Lu Jishi smiled with satisfaction. Then he looked at Hushi again. "Shiyu, I didn't expect us to meet again so soon." Hushi, who was sitting in the chair, stood up slowly. "Yeah, I really didn't expect it." Her eyes slowly circled around Caillou, who was behind Lu Jishi. Then she glanced at Renshuling, who couldn't hide her hatred. A smirk slowly revealed on her mouth. No wonder. Caillou has no grievances against me. Why would he take such a risk against me? Seeing Caillou's admiring gaze lingering on Lu Jishi now, she immediately understood. Hee, it turns out to be the secondly Jinyu. Really no wonder. Lu Jishi glanced at the people around him. Then she said with a gentle and clear voice, "Shiyu, although I knew you were very capable before, I didn't expect your performance to be so good. In the Secret Realm assessment, you are even greater than the seniors of the Gold Core stage." She seemed to casually tease the others behind Hushi. "You're only in the Foundation Establishment stage now, but you let the Meridian stage martial artists look up to you, and the Gold Core stage senior admits defeat to you. You are even the first Foundation Establishment stage who joins the Academy. I believe that your future will be very bright." Lu Jishi's words made everyone's faces turn more and more ugly. Chapter 1143. Don't want to. She continued as if she didn't notice it. "After today, you will be divided into different branches and dormitories. There won't be many opportunities to meet in the future, so you should thank Shiyu today. Without him, maybe you all would have been all dead in the secret realm." These words made everyone's face turn solemn. Lu Jishi's words were equivalent to denying all their credit, as if saying that none of them contributed in the secret realm. However, when Lu Jishi's beautiful eyes looked at everyone, they had to grit their teeth and thank Hushi. They didn't dare to vent their unwillingness and anger to Lu Jishi, but they all secretly counted it on Hushi. Only Han Shinner said coldly, in the secret realm assessment, all of us owe Shiyu a life. This is a fact. It can't be paid off with just a thank. I will remember this life-saving grace, but I'm not interested in speaking out. Han Shinner's words calmed down many people who were originally resentful because of Lu Zhishi's incitement. Indeed, it was a fact that they owed Shiyu a life. Just now, they were so jealous that they almost forgot Shiyu's life-saving grace. Some people woke up, but some people were still full of jealousy and hatred for Shiyu. Especially those students who were assigned to the lower 4 branches, they even gritted their teeth with hatred. They didn't understand why Shiyu, who had the lowest written assessment scores and was at the foundation establishment stage, could get into the Heaven Medical branch, but they were assigned to the 4 lower branches. Wei Qingyuan glanced at everyone glaring at Hushi with hatred. Then he glanced at Lu Zhishi with a frown. Is it Lu Zhishi targeting Shiyu? It shouldn't be possible, right? It should be just an unintentional move by Lu Zhishi, right? Lu Zhishi did not continue the topic, but she smiled gently and said to Hushi, Shiyu, would you like to join the Academy Student Council? I don't want to. The 4 decisive words made the surrounding atmosphere slightly awkward. Many even dug their ears, suspecting they had heard it wrong. Chen Jiancheng was even more shocked and excited looking at Hushi. If Hushi doesn't join the Academy Student Council, then my status will be higher than him. Wouldn't it be easier to get rid of him by then? Ren Shuling stepped forward and said angrily, Shiyu, say it again? My senior sister personally invited you to join the Academy Student Council, but you still refused? What do you mean? Hushi raised her eyes slightly with a slight sneer. Then she said clearly again, I don't want to. Lu Zhishi stopped the angry Ren Shuling and frowned slightly. Shiyu, is it because of what happened in Yangon City? You don't have to. Hushi chuckled, interrupting Lu Zhishi's words. I refuse just because I'm interested in joining the Academy Student Council. Is this explanation clear enough? Lu Zhishi's smile froze slightly, then she sighed softly before walking back to her previous position. Seeing the loneliness and sadness on her face, Caillou felt a pain in her heart. The doubts and guilt he felt for Shiyu disappeared in an instant. He gave Shiyu a cold look, whispered a few words in Lu Zhishi's ear, and then stepped forward. Next, let me explain the taboos and rules and regulations of Miracle Healer Academy. This manservant was temporarily transferred from other Shengda Hall branches and had unparalleled pride and superiority in Shengda Hall. Bai Hu was a little confused. Although he knew that Shengda Hall and Shiyu were powerful, he only realized how powerful her princess was until now. This splendid crowded scene is in the Miracle Healer City where high-ranked doctors and pill refiners gather. But these people actually line up to buy the medicinal pills made by the princess. This scene is really incredible. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.